Peace and light to the family. Welcome to another episode of Fresh Pharaoh Entertainment. We're your host. I'm Horace the Pharaoh.
Boy, Donnie Ascended.
And your boy, right, the guy, back at you another banger during this
Yes,
quarantine.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And today's episode is we're breaking down the Age of Aquarius, the expansion of consciousness going on in the world right now. And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
if you aren't aware, we've already been going through the Age of Aquarius. This started back in March. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's March 21st when we jump right into the Age of Aquarius. So really at the pinnacle of everything that started going on at the shifting of this paradigm. But
Yeah.
let's look at,
um,
it's all good. I would say let's look at what is the Age of Aquarius. But before we even go there, before we even break down that, we have to truly understand what astrology is. You know what I mean?
mhm.
I think we must understand that astrology is a form of time travel. It's not telling you, it's not the why of what's happening. It's telling you that it's going to happen, what's going to happen. So it's your precursor to events, right? It's truly you time traveling. You can perceive how many years into the future or the past and put yourself in that place and look how the stars correlate with the events that happened during that time, right?
Mhm.
And
So,
you go ahead, brother.
I was just, talking about the age of Aquarius in itself. I was doing my readings and talking about how we have been in a bit of a transitional period, right? Because these ages, the ages is ever changing, right? And so these ages last for about 2,000 years, right? And the earth is always transitioning from one age to another. Now, 2,000 years may seem like a lot to us, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that much time.
Baby
So,
food.
right, in the past 50 years or so, we've been transitioning from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, right? And in the age of Pisces, right, that's when the world was dominated by hierarchy, you know what I mean? Power, that that masculine energy, you know what I mean? And the Aquarian age, right, this is where we coming into our mind and inner power, you know what I mean? That energy, right? So you can see those things occurring and just looking at major events that have happened for, what I'm saying, like certain groups getting more rights and whatnot over the last few years, and recently um a lot of like progressive movements happening for a lot of groups, and that all coincides with this age of Aquarius. And so I was just piggybacking off of what you said about how a lot of these things can be predicted, you know what I mean? And for someone who could see that we were heading into this age before we got into this transitional period, then they would have been able to know that, okay, I can already see that during this period of time, this is what could occur. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to looking down, like looking at and breaking down the planets, the stars, how they move and everything, man, it's insane the knowledge that you can tap into just by looking up.
Right, literally. And going off of that, we have to understand that the age of Aquarius is the age of knowledge. It's the age where the veil is lifted. You can see
Hmm.
clearly, but the issue with I see with people, because I see a lot of people tapping into the information daily. I just see people like, okay, they're tapping in here, they're tapping in there, but the sources in which they're getting their information from, I think, are not even viable sources. And I think we're losing so many people at the same time as we're gaining because since everything is ever expanding, especially with the wave of consciousness, now you have people who are looking just for the basic understanding of stuff, and they're getting drowned. They're getting drowned in this sea of information, literally. And what we have is a veil that's been lifted, but some people have failed the 2020 vision test already. You know what I mean?
You know, back to what you were saying, these two ages, the age of Pisces and age of Aquarius, you can see the differences in them by what you said, right? And so we're looking at the Aquarian age, and this is the age of information, like you said. And by information, meaning that in the age of Pisces, a lot of things were hidden, right? Covered up, you know what I mean? And you have to be a part of like certain special groups in order to get to certain information. But now that we're in this Aquarian age, and now with the emergence of all of this technology, I mean, we literally have supercomputers in the palm of our hands that's connected to an almost infinite source of knowledge. You know what I mean? Now, the validity of all those sources of knowledge, is up to the person. But the fact remains is that we are literally living in the age where if you want to know something, if you want to find something out, then it's easier than ever to go find something out, to teach yourself, to discover what it is that you have questions about. And that's so important in this age because now we have the power to empower ourselves. You know what I mean? In the age of Pisces, you had to have somebody else, guide you to the information or someone else to, give you access to certain information. Now we can do for ourselves. And this is so great because now each one of us can connect into this grand source of power that is knowledge, right? And with knowledge, you take that knowledge and you're able to put it to use, right? So you take the knowledge, you put it into practical use, and that knowledge becomes wisdom, right? And so now we have a large group of people who can now, by themselves, create a wisdom within themselves, right? And that's been never before seen because all the other times you have to jump over, so many hurdles, overcome so many obstacles. Now it's easier than ever. You know what I mean? You got a question, what? Let me just look this up, and next thing you know, you in a rabbit
Right.
hole.
But I think the only issue that comes with so much knowledge is now you have an increase of denial of what they are seeing, right? That's why I said I think a lot of people have been failing the 2020 vision test. Not that they aren't coming into the information, but now they have to go into the willingness to accept the information that's presented with them. And I say this because if you look at everything that has been going on since March 21st, I feel like I wake up and I get a download and I know exactly what's about to happen. A few days that happens. And right when I get it, I'm just like, wow. And I'm sitting there in awe at the downloads I'm getting from the universe because I know I'm tapped into the dark matter energy force out here, right? And going back to what you said about knowledge, I think if you break down the definition of knowledge essentially equals light. So light is knowledge, right? It's the same way they say that when you're in the sun, your melanin needs that sunlight because that's information. Therefore that means knowledge equals light. So if you really want to get some information, boy, you better get in that sun and bathe in it because that's true knowledge right there. And when you looking at it like that, look at everything that's been revealed and uncovered in these short span of months, and you can only imagine. And it has everyone in disarray. So you can only imagine what it's like if everyone was actually understanding what they look at. The pedophiles getting shown the flaws, the fakes, right? We're also seeing the end of like celebrities. People are starting to finally realize that these false idols ruin your egos. You know what I'm saying? Like we're living up to a standard of people who don't even represent the standard of what you want to be. You just idolize them to the point where now you a fractured shell. You were, well, I mean, not a
It's
fractured shell. You a broken soul in a fractured shell. So you were, god dang, what's the word? Double negative, god damn it.
bro, it's crazy you say that because I was just on Twitter and I just tweeted out false idols ruin egos. And for listeners, if you don't know, uh I listen to a lot of B.O.B's music, uh, and in his Elements album, before the albums, he released 4 mixtapes. Uh, they were Water, Fire, Earth, and Air, right? And they were all acronyms, right? Fire stood for False Idols Ruin Egos. So I'm at work, right? And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what does false idols ruin egos really mean? And like Horace just said, it's the phenomenon that we see all too often in our society, in which we have everyday people looking up to these celebrities and seeing them as sort of paragons of what you should be, right? And so now we have people who are comparing themselves to these people, you know what I mean? And when you compare yourself to somebody that you're so like not alike, then that's when you have people who now have their own self-image shattered. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, why can't I look like this person? Or why can't I be as successful as this person? Or why can't this, that, and the third? So now it comes to a point where people are no longer valuing their own uniqueness, but we're trying so hard to become someone else. You know what I mean? And that's the part of ruining your ego, to the point where now you have in your mind subconsciously created an image in which you will never be, right? And so
Mhm.
that becomes completely detrimental to you. And this is the age in which people are really taking a step back and saying, you know what? Why? You know what I mean?
Right. They're taking an occult perspective and don't know it because the occult deals with the why, not the what's causing this. No, well, let's look at why this is even. What led to the what? You feel me? The why.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I had a huge epiphany yesterday. I actually I got confirmation on one of my dreams because it was crazy, and it's gonna get real deep in a second. And we about to go into some good mythology real quick because in the Age of Aquarius, we have to go within self to truly understand what's going on. You know what I mean?
Facts, big facts.
And it's funny because I'm gonna make a video game reference because this is how my dream came about. So if you don't know, I love this game, Smite. It's kind of what was the indicative for this podcast. And about 2 to 3 weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, they released this guy named Cthulhu. And before I even break down what Cthulhu represents, you have to look at the person who wrote Cthulhu was, I think it was like 8 something, Lovecraft. The writer was Lovecraft. And when he wrote these stories back in the 90s, I believe, he said they were dreams. But little did he know, he was a channeler. So he was channeling this energy from the fifth dimension and these alternate dimensions into the reality and writing stories of them. And so, just long story short, the Cthulhu mythos pretty much is that Cthulhu is a cosmic energy, right? So what it represents is the dark matter think tank, and that if you don't know, that's an episode we did a few months ago. So definitely check that out. But what the Cthulhu does, it sleeps. Wow. And when Cthulhu sleeps, it says that the humans rise until he awakes and he washes all them motherfuckers like, all right, all y'all that ain't about it, get it. And they say Cthulhu drives you to madness just by the sight of him. And it's so deep. I want to go into it, but that's almost like a separate episode. But correlating this to my dream and inner self, you say I was listening to Brother Rich with an episode with Brother Panic, right? And in this episode, they describe Brother Rich proposes the question. When we look in the mirror and you see that monster and you kind of tell it to go away when you were younger, You want to know? Or you just have that dream of like that monster?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, most little kids have that whatever it is, whatever entity it may be that they're afraid of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what if I told you that entity was you in your primal form, right? See, what we forget, and it's funny because we say we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So if we're spiritual beings and we look in the mirror and we see our true self and say, that's the monster, the reflection is looking back at you in this human body full of whatever nonsense and was like, bruh, what the hell you sneezing? That's monster shit right there. You gotta eat. You gotta shit. You gotta do all that. And basically what is funny because Brother Panic, he started talking about Cthulhu. And so he was saying how that is you in your primal self, in your primal form, and this alternate plane where you're just a soul, you feel me? Your energy. And correlating this to this dream I had is where, I was in this dark scape of energy. And, I was like real small. And like when I look up, I see this huge hovering creature. Like, bro, it was like a vortex of energy. It would look like Cthulhu. And the way I interpreted the dream was that this is just my ego. This is what I need to conquer. But upon receiving more downloads, I understood that no, this is my primal self. This is what I can attain to be. This is what I was prior before coming into this human body, this shell, you dig? And understanding that gave me a whole new perspective because I feel like in my journey, I'm already really far in my journey. But what that showed me is that the level that I will attain is higher than I could even imagine at this moment. And that's what the Age of Aquarius is about. Receiving the information, going within self so you can understand how to use it. Because the goal right now is Age of Aquarius in these next 2,000 years, what it's telling us is, hey, you about to take back what was yours, but you're not here to stay. You're here to leave. It's time to go. It's time to exit this realm, this dimension. But, you know, everybody ain't ready for that talk. Everybody ain't ready to
No,
leave. Some people still
it's
got a few more lifetimes on here. Shoot, I might have a lifetime or two. I don't know. I gotta do some more of the numbers. But what I'm saying is the Age of Aquarius is our age specifically. Why do you see so much black activism, black this, black that, black that? This is that dark matter timing, right? And when I say dark matter timing, I'm referring to a lecture I went to over the past week or last week. Was that this weekend? It don't matter. But
last weekend.
gems. It was mad gems saying how to move in this reality, how to manifest everything in this reality. Because we always say our mind is our reality. So when people say 2020 is terrible, they be having the worst year. And I can't relate to them in any way. Since January, my year has been phenomenal. I started a motherfucking business. Like everything that's happened this year. Shoot, this podcast started this year. What you saying, bro? Like 2020 has been such an elevating year. Nothing has gotten to me to the extent where I couldn't achieve my manifestations aside. Only time anything got away from manifestations is when I got in my head, you know. But the
I mean,
information,
that's what it is, though, man. The Age of Aquarius really pushes the concept of mindfulness, right?
mhm,
And so by mindfulness, um, I actually had a class my first semester of school, college, and in this class, one of the lectures was about mindfulness, right? And mindfulness, they were giving us like breathing techniques and meditation techniques, right? And meditation is one of the biggest aspects of the Age of Aquarius because meditation allows you to be mindful of your mind, right? A lot of people, we know that we think, right? But when you begin to think about how you're thinking and
mhm,
about what you're thinking about, then that's when you're becoming mindful, right?
right,
And so when you meditate, right, and you sit down, you become still, and now all you have is just you and your thoughts. See, a lot of people think meditation is about, you know, banishing your thoughts. You know
Right.
what I mean? But it's not. It's about, because the thing about our minds is that they're transient, right? So our minds are always going to think. Our minds are thinking 24/7. So the goal of meditation isn't to reject those thoughts. It's to accept that you have those thoughts and then discover why you have those thoughts, right? And so when you begin to understand why you have certain thoughts, then you can begin to master them. You feel what I'm saying? And so when
Because
you begin to master your thoughts, now you master your mind. And your mind will either be one of two things. Your mind will either be your greatest enemy or your greatest ally, right?
Mhm.
And so if you allow your mind to run rampant and to act solely off of the things that happen in your everyday life, right? And let's be honest, negative stuff is going to happen to everybody, right? It's just a part of
Right.
life. But if you
Trauma.
allow your mind, exactly, and that's an inherent part of life. If you allow your mind to take certain events and run with them, right? Then you will see these type of things continue to happen because your mind will bring to you the things that you think about, right? So if all you're thinking about is negativity, 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 and you don't even know why you're thinking about all that negative stuff, then best believe that's all you're gonna be bringing to yourself. But let's say you're thinking about negativity, you meditate, you say, you know what? Why do I have such a negative outlook on everything? Then you begin to overcome that. And you say, you know what? I can have a positive outlook. Now, I'm simplifying the process. You know what I mean? It's going to be easier for some people than others. But the moral of the story is that when you become mindful, right? When you really start to understand what happens within, right? And I use this word within because that's what everything is about. Really discovering that the power is within, right? The mind, that's within. Our true power comes from within. We no longer need to search for an outside source to, give us salvation. We no longer need to search for somebody else to hold our hand and say,
Right.
you know what? If you want eternal peace, I'm going to teach you how to do this or whatever it may be. Literally all the answers, everything we need to know, and everything we need in order to get to the place that we want to be because it's personal journeys, right? So it's going to be different for every person. And so for you, whatever you need to get to that place or whatever it is that you feel is your destiny or your endpoint or whatever it may be, that's all within. You know what I mean? It's all within.
And within this age, we got so much information that's unveiling. Like, if you are able to see things as they truly are, you won't be able to see anything. If you can't see it now, in this age of Aquarius, you probably got a few more lifetimes here. You know what I mean?
It's not.
That's just keeping it honest. And
It's not.
I think some of the best ways to get rid of that, to see, sometimes you have to eliminate your emotions, your chakra work, your inner work, so you can see things for what they truly are. For example, everything that's going on from COVID, from everything is mind games. Because see, we got to understand the universe don't operate on fair. The universe don't know what fair is. Fair is a white man term. They created that shit. We knew the universe didn't operate on fair. The universe ever expanded. A star blow up and a star gets made in a nebula at the same time. They ain't motherfucker. What you think? This you think universe? Oh snap! We blew him up today, bro. You know I kind of like him. He shine kind of bright. Nah, bro. Boom, dim your light out. Universe just go and do what it do. And if the universe is ever expanding, so do we, right? We know
Mhm.
we're manifestations of the universe. We know that dark matter is representative of melanin. So we know that we are that. So we have to. We know that we're stardust, right? I heard in the lecture that water ain't even native to the planet Earth, but we 70% water and 30% stardust. So what that tell you? Motherfucking aliens, in a sense, you dig? That means we are one with the universe. So we are ever expanding just like the universe. And our knowledge needs to do that too. And knowledge is light. That's why light travels in light years. You feel me?
Bro, don't mean to cut you off, but I had just watched the video today about what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty much just talking about how everything is interconnected, right? But the visuals they gave, right? It was like you ever it was like it looked at a nebula, right? A nebula in space. They were like, you know what a nebula looks like? And they were like, it looks like what's inside of the pupil of your eye. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I peeped that before. And then it was like, um, you ever looked at what was it? I think it was like tree branches, or
Like a
something of the
placenta.
sort. Yeah, like placenta, or and they were saying it could look like your nervous system.
Yeah,
And then
as above, as above, as below.
they were like, you ever opened up an orange? It was like, what does it look like? Okay, first of all, it's a lot of stuff that looks like vaginas, that just tells you a lot right there.
Right.
Um, then it was like, you ever opened up an orange and it looked like your lungs? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
bruh, it's like this is crazy. And then it was like, when you look at the human body, right? And we all know what the human body is made of. It's made of cells, right? And the guy talking was like, an organism is pretty much anything that's composed of smaller systems in order to make the larger system
Right.
run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, by that logic, would that mean that the earth itself is one large organism and all of the different systems being deserts, oceans, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Forest, rainforest,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so then it was saying how cancer is pretty much an uncontrollable growth of cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the body has its own natural ways of fighting cancer. So it was like, if the organism's body is the earth, then that means that humans would be considered the cancer because of destruction we
Natural
cause.
disasters
Parasite
are immune
And
or
to.
a
the natural
parasite.
disaster, exactly, natural disasters, all of these things would literally just be the earth's way of fighting off the cancer, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so then it was saying how, and this is what really blew my mind. It was like, so imagine this. Humans are made up of billions of cells, right? The earth has billions of humans in it, which
Mm-hmm.
would tell us that humans are essentially cells for the earth. But then get this, the universe is made of billions of planets and
Right.
stars.
Mm-hmm.
So then that tells you that the earth is but one cell in something even greater, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So check
And
this out. That
so,
mean, oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what's a star? That's a white blood cell. You feel me? Red and white blood cells.
right, bro, it's insane. And so, I already had a general understanding of interconnectedness, but that literally makes you think. Like,
Let me.
we are taught that we are so insignificant, but that tells you so much right there. Like, we are literally a part of something that is so grand, bro. I just had to throw that in there.
No. Because look, let's take it even deeper. Let's apply it to something common that people are talking about right now. So think about. I said this in a previous episode too. So you know how just like with the unveiling of all this information, stuff like climate change is coming back up. But based off your information you just said, climate change basically means they say the earth is getting hot. So what happens to you when you get hot as
Like a
hell?
fever,
You got a
bro. And
fever.
I literally just looked up. A fever is literally the body's, bro. That's literally the body's way of saying it's fighting off an infection, bro. And
But
that's what's insane.
check this out. Check this out. Look, and I ain't gonna try to piss people off, but my research has showed me like The Caucasianoid is a manifestation of our minds. Because we gotta remember, we are if we know that what we living in now is a result, is one of infinite realities. Because we gotta remember our thoughts. When you think things, you know how you think of multiple outcomes, right?
Mhm.
Those multiple outcomes are just parallel universes where that outcome you thought of is actually happening. And there's actual science to prove this, because NASA has came out and said that after years of hiding this info, where scientists came out and said, hey, we found a parallel dimension where time goes backwards. So that's telling you that these alternate realities are real. They tell you this in comic books and movies all the time. They don't tell you
Bro,
game was an occult movie. That's why I go back and watch all the Marvel movies with new eyes, right? What do you think the ancient one was showing the hope when she was showing the timelines converging? That was 2020. Because if you break down the numerology and the geometry of 2020, 2020 equals 44. And we know what 44 means blood. But check this out. There are more years than just 2020 that equal 44 that we've seen convergence, right? 1776, right? That equals 44. What happened in 1776? What was that? Revolution or Declaration of Independence? One of those two.
yeah, the Declaration of
Yeah,
Independence.
that time,
Okay.
yes.
I think let me check my notes. I want to say 1936 also was 44. We know 2012 equal 44. And so what I'm saying is, so now we have overlapping timelines in this timeline. This is why we have so many instances that seem similar to this, to that, all overlapping at once, and people going crazy because they can't handle it. And what does this sound like? This sounds like The Watchmen to me. I'm just saying that is a necessity. Why do you think they put The Watchmen out in 2019 and you ain't hearing nothing about it now? But if you go back and watch The Watchmen, that's probably the most relevant show I've seen in a minute. What they have in The Watchmen? They showed you what would happen when black folk got reparations. All the white people were in trailer parks. The cops had on masks, right? They had on masks to conceal their identity. Sounds mad familiar. Funny because Georgia just put in the thing where they said if cops can get citations now if they don't wear their mask, okay, right? So on top of that, they showed you that the black man is God, right? AKA Dr. Manhattan, okay? They showed you that the cops were KKK in disguise, and they showed you that the Caucasianoid, as a result of giving black people reparations, they were forming cults of Rorschach, the Rorschach test, to come and wipe us out. And what did the show do? Once Dr. Manhattan died, he transferred his energy, essentially his consciousness, his power, to what? The woman,
The
the black
black
woman.
woman.
They said, we can't do no season 2. Black woman God? Whoa, 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 we can't know that because we already know the black woman is God. She brings birth. She brings life into the universe. The universe is but her womb, right? She's,
Bro, it's crazy.
what do you think the
You
Big
know,
Bang
there's
Theory said? Boom, God damn.
Bro, there's also another show, bro, Rick and Morty, bro. And I remember this because I remember the episode where they had messed up the alternate realities or whatever.
Oh,
And
when they have
literally what you
dots,
just said,
the
yes,
dots
bro. And literally
of
what you just said,
uncertainty.
bro. Yes, bro. As soon as you are uncertain and you have to make a choice, bro. And I've literally thought about this my entire life. Like, as soon as you make a choice to do something or not to do it, bro, I feel like you create another timeline
Facts.
because
When you did make this choice, when you didn't.
Yeah, that's
exactly,
exactly
bro.
what happens.
And that's literally what happened in the episode, bro. Like, as soon as they had to make a choice and they were uncertain, it was split off. You know what I'm saying? One timeline would
Mm-hmm.
act and one timeline wouldn't act, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
this thing, it's like the butterfly effect almost, right? Imagine, one little choice. It's like, okay, I chose not to make a bowl of cereal earlier, right? That's not a
Mm-hmm.
big of a deal. But you compile those bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually you have some completely different outcome for the
Right.
entire world. You
Right.
know what
In
I
that
mean?
one instance where you made that bowl of cereal, you became the president and you nuked the planet and look at a bowl of cereal. And you sitting there like, what? And it's funny
Well,
because you say that. Because that episode, now I realized, was a 4-4 episode because we know 4-4 is the mirror number. And what they started off, they had 2 dots, right? They had 2 dots. What happened? They went to
they had
4
two.
dots. Then they
Then they
went to
went
8.
for
Then they went to 16. Then they went to 64. And we know 44 4 is the only mirror number because 2 plus 2 equals 4 and 2 times 2 equals 4. And so we know that's a mirror number that reflects your reality and creates the alternate reality, right? Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
come on now. Come on
Man,
now.
it's crazy, bro. The metaphysics, bro, that be in these shows is insane, bro.
Well,
Insane.
we know the games they play and they know the age we in. So I tell people you have to really look at things for face value. You know
Mm-hmm.
what you're looking at because, again, they don't understand the mind games that are being played. They don't understand the mind games that are being played with Corona, right? All you really needed to live through Corona. If Corona came in your face, boy, all you need to go do is go outside and sit in some sun. Sun is 2/3 of the battle. Food is the other part, right? It's a fight for the immune system, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tell
And you know
people,
what's crazy?
what?
What's crazy is that most people don't even adhere to that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we
Mind
already
control.
have,
To the sun.
right? But you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? What's crazy? Most people don't adhere to that, and it's already a 95% recovery rate, right? But they
But
don't show you the recovery numbers,
of
right? They
course,
don't. They only
They
show you
show
the death
death
numbers.
tolls.
It's a 95% recovery rate. Now, I get it. 5, 6% of the the population dying. That's still a lot of people.
but
I
let's be
get it.
real.
But
Before you keep going, let's remember the people who die already have pre-existing conditions
That's what I've been
such as
saying.
and bro,
extreme
and
diabetes.
I was just about
Diabetes,
to
high
go on that.
cholesterol, high blood pressure, all that.
Facts.
I was just about to go into that, and this further proves how we're in the age of information. So I'm on the CDC's website, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just reading because I told you all I got caught up doing some reading before I got on the recording, and pretty much I'm looking at these COVID facts, right? I'm looking at the numbers straight from the CDC. You can go and look yourself, and they were saying how it's literally on there how they were tracking mortality rates from COVID-like infections.
Mm-hmm.
COVID-like infections, not COVID itself. It's literally acronym CLI. And so that made me wonder, what do you mean by COVID-like? If COVID is apparently the only thing that we have an epidemic for, then I was like, okay, influenza and pneumonia are both COVID-like. So if you're doing your calculations based on COVID-like infections, don't you think that would skew the numbers a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of bit?
Yeah.
Then, furthermore, you know what I'm saying? I was doing more research into it or whatever, and I'm looking at the recovery rates and everything. And yet again, they're talking about influenza and pneumonia. And I'm like, y'all are pretty much saying that y'all aren't even looking at just COVID at this point. Like they could literally, somebody could die from the flu or pneumonia, and they'll just be like, you know what? It looked close enough to COVID, so we'll just add this number right there. You know what I mean? And let's say
Mm-hmm.
that's not the case. Let's look at just the facts, right? Why is it that the media pushes so much a death rate, right? They can say, oh,
Mm-hmm.
150,000 people done died so far, but they won't tell you that 2.6 million people have recovered, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we know it's scientific fact that stress and fear do what?
Weaken
Weaken your
your
immune
immune
system,
system.
Damage your immune system.
right?
Yeah.
That's scientifically proven fact. Literally, when they provide you with vaccines, they will give you an artificial stressor in order to stop your immune system from attacking the vaccine. We know this. So if we already know this, then do you not think that it's by design that they would push you to only pay attention to the death rate in order for you to respond in a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now you look at it, okay, they're stressing us out, they're causing us to panic. The physical implications that has on how you act mentally, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're scared, you're going to act out, right? That's just biological predisposition, right? You know, you look at any animal, you back them into a corner, what are they going to do? Strike. Same with humans. Humans feel fear for their life, then they're going to act in a certain way, right? But now, if you look within the body, your immune system not working as well, and then they'll tell you, oh yeah, but we're predicting a surge in the virus, in these upcoming months. Well, I wonder why you done sat here and made everybody scared to death. Now they can't even fight the virus off naturally. And
And,
I feel like the implications for that, bro,
and
no telling what they could
check
do, bro.
check this out. This is why I say a lot of people are aware of the information, but they don't know where to go because it's 2020. You still looking at the television. They lying to you. They've been lying to you since whenever it came out. Whenever that shit came out, they've been lying off the rip. Every
Mm-hmm.
TV station is owned by 3 companies, so I think it's 6 companies. So that young bogus. They just pulling strings. They know what they doing. It's all a game. And if you can't see that now, it's the same way they infiltrated the music industry. Music was dead as soon as you had to ask the white person to get your masters back. You're right. Like if you don't own it, what's the point? It's no longer yours if you don't own it. If you have to ask someone to own it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, I think it's called the Betelgeuse star, Betelgeuse. I think it's pronounced the Betelgeuse star. And I think they
Yeah,
said the
yeah,
light
that's like
was,
one of the biggest, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I forget, I think they said the light was dimming. And I'm trying to remember what it represented. But it pretty much represented that energy. You know what I'm saying? That it would be only so crazy that it's dimming during the age of Aquarius, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's light, so that means it's giving information out at all types of. It's like boom, you want some, boom, you want some, boom. It's motherfucking charity, boy. They over there, hey, light, motherfucker. And so it's crazy because again, the way the universe works, I learned that the universe operates the closest. We think the biggest number in the world is infinity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Infinity ain't nothing. The closest number to infinity is 3, right? To be more specific, it's pi. And I learned this from brother A.A. Rashid. Shout out to A.A. Rashid, man, dude's a legend. And from the lecture, and he broke down that the universe operates on 3, more specifically pi. Why? Because the number pi is 3 dot infinity. It don't stop. It don't end. That's the closest number to infinity. And if you think about it, what sound does the universe make? Om. That's 3 parts. Om. Om. And what they tell you to meditate to? Om.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit a tuning bowl, what sound do it make? Om. That's the resonating frequency. That's the sound the universe is tuned to. It's a hum. When you tapped in, you can
Mm-hmm.
tune into that universal frequency and expand with the universe. They told you the universe is ever expanding. So you should be ever expanding if you are part of the universe.
Very
And
true. Very true.
on top of that, you know, this is that shift. Because look, if anything, COVID is showing you what was necessary and what wasn't necessary, right? COVID has shows you all these stores for clothes, shoes, all this nonsense. They told you all the jobs that no one cared about. Those are the jobs people who had to get raises because of COVID, right? All your fast food workers became essential. Even if they were serving you bullcrap, they became essential because it was food, right? Any place with food. The healers became essential, right? All the people. Look at the lecture. They made a joke. They was like that lady you thought was crazy who was selling sea moss. Now she balling right now. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm on. We balling right now off of sea
Bro.
moss because we know healing became an essential, and that goes back to the black standard, if you will, because even looking at this Age of Aquarius, people trying to understand what we want to do, and this week I was also featured on a podcast called Remnant Speaks. You should check that out. And I was a featured guest, and our topic was the Black agenda. It was a great discussion. Great discussion with some older men, and it was good to be a voice of the youth. But y'all know me, unpopular opinion. I'm gonna piss you off, and so I don't. I'm gonna say what I say, whether you agree or not. And I think a table that, well, not table. A question that came up the most was, do we want a seat at the table still? And I said, well, why do we? I brought it to the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over, looking for a different result. And that's no disrespect to the protests, because we know they can bring change. But if you have to constantly protest about the same thing over and over, you're leading yourself to insanity. So why create a seat at the table when the people at the table are telling you, we don't want to give you a seat? Why not
Nah,
make your own table?
I was about to say that. Why get a seat at another table? Make your own table. Make a better table.
And
You know what I mean?
and no offense to the amazing men who were on that show, but they see it. I think saw it almost as separating. And I say, well, why don't you want to separate? You know, why can't? Because clearly we see, at least in this capitalistic society, well, the world operate off this fake fiat currency, and we'll get into fiat later because I got some news on that. But with this Age of Aquarius, we see that equity, right? Why are we still talking about buying houses and not talking about buying land, right? They tell you you want to grow up and get a house. They'll never tell you want to buy some land, though. You get land, you have income. Simple as that, right?
When you get
They
land,
don't.
you got ownership, bro.
You have
That's
ownership.
you.
That's it, right?
You do
Ownership or
everything and got money.
slaveship, right? You don't get the land for a house until you pay off your mortgage, and most people move, so you ain't get the land. You just move,
Indeed.
right? And so they don't tell you to buy land. They don't tell, right? Again, this goes back to the black dollar conversation. Again, I'm proud everyone that's getting this information, that's supporting black businesses, but we got to look at it for face value too. It's a shame that we should be even pushing that in 2020, right? What was y'all
Should
doing
have been
before then?
supporting each other. Should have been supporting black businesses,
I
man.
mean, and the same excuse. And then, that's why I really can't mess with social media, because social media full of people who do nothing but talk, no action, no nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Support. Some people saying support black businesses, ain't even do it. Well, where you capping? If you don't go sit yourself down, you gonna get washed. Cthulhu gonna come in. Go ahead, take them out of here. Cthulhu, energy ain't gonna have no mercy on you, because the universe don't understand spare, as I said. You dig? And so we got to understand during this shift that we need to, well, let me say like this: everybody can't come, you know what I'm saying, in terms of the utopia, you know what I mean? If there's a utopia, and as much as we want, there are some individuals who, again, they got more lifetimes to go through, you feel me, before they can get the message. So they might get left behind this time. They might have to catch the next train, you know what I'm saying?
Oh no, this it for me. I'm keeping the buck with you. I'm tired of this.
Facts. But there's a lot of people who are still trying to hold on to that and to try to hold on. I see no point. I've did so much work on the history front. At this point, I'm just working on myself, because I see that it's a need for us to learn who we are, essentially, beyond all this. You know what I'm saying?
I
Whether
mean,
you that, why does that matter? We too busy worried about religion has killed more people than anything. So to me, subscribing to a religion is killing
Yeah.
yourself. It's killing anyone, right? And
you
it's funny
know,
because check this out. The word Hebrew in Hebrew, hold on, let me pull up my notes, bro. The word Hebrew in Hebrew translates to eye in head. The eye in your head,
I
your
head.
pineal gland. The eye in head, your third eye, right? So it's in there from the jump. And back from media, they tell you the power, right? Shit, Dragon Ball Z even told you the power. They showed you the Burr, the Demon King, who operated on the 666 frequency. That's melanin. He was the darkness. He was the dark side that you needed to invoke, right? The goal is to die, transcend, go travel through the Duat, say what's up to Ra, and become Osiris. You dig? That means go back to the stars, right?
go back to the mothership.
And even looking at that, you know, This goes into the power of symbolism, why we have to understand what we're looking at in this day and age, right? It's the same
Bro,
way people still think the swastika is bad just because of someone's misintent use of it, right?
that's crazy you say that, bro. Cause there's literally a book right next to me, bro. There's right here, Secrets of the Universe in 100 symbols.
Crazy.
And this, bro, is literally every major symbol you can think of, and it goes in depth into their origins and what they actually mean, bro. You don't realize how much stuff you look at every day,
And you
and
think
you
it's
don't even
evil.
know what, bro, exactly. You don't even know what it means.
And
And so, I'm at the point where I feel like we really won't see true progression until we understand that we can go nowhere without knowing who we are in the first place.
you gotta
And
take back what was yours.
take back
Like,
what was yours. You got to look within to see who you are to you. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? We got so many people out here who are other personas for other people. You
right.
know what I mean? They say, okay, around this group of people, I'm going to be this person. Around this group of people, I'm going to be this person. Almost as if I understand, you know what I'm saying, that there are certain, aspects of life in which you may have to dumb things down a little bit. You know what I mean? But if you get to the point where you have to suppress parts of who you really are in order to fit someone else's vision of who you should be,
Mhm.
then you are causing harm to yourself. You know what I mean? And
Like,
I mean that in the sense that nobody out there should be causing you to suppress parts of who you are. I don't care if it's a boss.
and
I don't care if it's a family member. I don't care if it's your girl, your man. You are supposed to be who you are, right? Because if you're not being who you are, then of course you're going to be living in internal torment. And you can't expect to get anything positive living in that type of situation.
mm, and you know what's crazy? It's like during this expansion of consciousness, this is how I know everything happens on time. There ain't no such thing as late. You know what I'm saying? It happened on time. So
Divine timing, bro.
I think back in May, I pulled out like 30 comics. I was like, yo, I'm gonna reread these. These are good reads. And as you know, I ain't read them motherfuckers. I was looking at this stat like, one day. And so it just so happened 2 days ago, I picked up one of my favorite comic books I ever read called The Illuminati, right? And what this comic pretty much represents, I read it, I was able to read it on an occult level that made me, I was reading this junk like, mama, yo, come look at this. I was like, yo, this is crazy. So the Illuminati is a team of the strongest heroes of the Marvel Universe who band together and form a secret group, right? Which is Doctor Strange, who and it's funny how much these superhero movies can break down the world. Because if Doctor Strange, they shows you how to go within self. If you watch the movie,
hmm
Ancient One pushed him out his body, astral
Bro, I
plane,
was just about
astral
to say that.
projection.
I
Matter
was
of
literally
fact,
about to say that. The part where she pushed him out, pushed his spiritual essence out of his
this
body.
book right here, Astrodynamics, that's that whole movie in a
Oh,
nutshell.
that's the one by what's his name? Robert.
Robert Bruce. It's a
Yeah, Robert
guideline to
Bruce.
transferring your energy to have outer body experiences. On top of that, the second Doctor Strange, what was that about to be called? Tales of the Multiverse. They were telling you parallel dimensions exist. Every thought is a reality somewhere else, right?
hmm
X-Men. And let me go back into the book why it's so important. So essentially, the main plot of that is that they gather the Infinity Stones together because they want to keep them, away from people such as Thanos, you feel me? The Snatcher. They don't want that to happen no more. And so it's funny because Mr. Fantastic already has the Power Stone and the Space Stone. And so what the book reveals is that each stone is a level of difficulty to acquire each stone. So each stone gets you another stone that gets you another stone. So it's telling you, so first stone he got was power. Why? Because anyone can have power. It's like that. Boy, you the leader of your group. Now you a dick. You feel me? Being a dickhead, bro. Power, just like that. Space, as above, as below. As soon as you understand that, you control your reality like that instantly. The next stone that was interesting that shocked me was the Mind Stone. Yeah, the Mind. No, he had the Soul Stone, but it didn't really go into that. But the Mind Stone, which was very interesting, because when they went to the Mind Stone, they realized the Mind Stone was just the collective unconsciousness of the universe. And it says that directly in the book. What does that sound like? The dark matter think tank. Come on now. Whew.
And even crazier, and another comment, because remember I told you I was watching a video in the DC universe, and it was talking about the 7 principal
Mm-hmm.
forces of the DC universe. And one of those principal forces was the collective unconscious, bro.
Right. Crazy. And then the next stone was the reality stone. So, and what it said was that, and it was crazy because they got the reality stone and the mind stone at the same time. So what does that tell you? Your mind controls your reality, and your reality is a makeup of your mind. Ooh, that shit was crazy. And so guess which stone was the hardest to get? The time stone. Why? Because time is an alive construct. And it took and what made it so crazy is that it took gathering all the rest of those stones just to reach the time stone, to show you how powerful time is. Time is alive. People forget that time is alive, right?
Mhm.
And so time is a being. You feel me? And so when you try to disrupt your future, as some of the Caucasianoids do, because they know their time is up, they try to dissuade the future, and they're trying to break and fracture time itself. And to me, bro, when I realized, the first time I read it, I was like, this is such a great story. And this was last year I read this. Now I read this junk, and I was sitting there like, motherfucker. I was like, it's in plain sight. Plain sight. The gems they drop in it, literally. You know what I'm saying?
I
That's the
mean, the greatest place to hide something is right under somebody's nose.
in
You
a
see
book.
that everywhere.
In a book under someone's nose. Crazy. And the gems in it were crazy. I could do a whole video breaking down how amazing this book was, because the information in it was beyond comprehensible at some points, because it was of other realm. You can tell they went to the 5th dimension in the ether to pull it out. And it also deals again with the inner work of your chakras and your chi, because there's only 6 members. Well, there's 6 members each for a stone, and each member represented a certain chakra, because they each has a certain instability. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there's 7, but the 7 is when they come collective. The pineal gland, you dig?
Hmm.
Oof. And so this collective unconsciousness we're in an age that we've never seen before. So why not understand what you're going through and use it to the best of your ability?
Facts.
Sit
Facts.
down, dive into it, because this time we're really not going to go into the full Age of Aquarius until around, I think when I read it, or who I heard it from, I think she said around 2034 is when we'll be fully engulfed in the Age of Aquarius, when it's going to be like boom. But what's crazy is I can't imagine it getting more crazier than how it is now, because everything is coming out. You got the pedophiles put on blast. You got the celebrities showing their cars. You know who they are. You know they was bought and paid for now. You know who was doing this. You know who was doing that. Everyone is being blasted. You can't hide nothing in this reality. People so focused on entanglements, they ain't worried about the quantum entanglements that you have in your body. Tell me why they actually found a picture of a quantum entanglement yesterday. They found an actual picture of it on the quantum realm scale, right? They don't say that the real quantum entanglement is between a queen and her seed. It's the same reason you can walk in the house and your mama know you mad without even seeing you, right? You know, you would walk home or say, you don't even say nothing. You have a straight face. She'll be like, what's wrong with you today? You in the car. Because she right, because she knows something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? That's an entanglement. You entangle. We entangle with the stars. Come on now.
Man,
Crazy.
the universe within, man. If you can't travel to the universe without, travel to the universe within.
Fact. And so we gonna close it out here, but we might do a part two. We'll see. We'll depend on the feedback. But yo, and plus my computer about to die.
Mhm.
It does it 11 minutes. And you know, computers when they say 11, they cut off in 2
Oh, they
seconds.
really,
Yeah,
I'm about to
that's
say they
whole
really mean
count.
2 minutes. Right.
You need 30 seconds, boy. You on the
Y'all
clock.
know, y'all know the drill. You go ahead and hit that outro, guys.
From men's to kings.
From kings to gods.
This has been Fresh Fair Entertainment. Peace.
And we out.
Farewell.